Mogesalmevit Megobrevo. In this video, we're going to be covering 38 words and phrases related to useful and common verbs. If you're thinking about traveling to Georgia, or if you're looking to just add some common verbs to your vocabulary, if you're looking to talk about things like love or conversation or learn some phrases related to eating and drinking, then we're going to cover that in this video. Alright, so in previous videos we've already covered var and vart, which is I am and we are, and using that var, we can say something like nam kopi var, and that just means I have been somewhere. And so anything related to travel, this has come up in conversations for me, is maybe someone will ask me, for instance, like, hey, have you been here? And I can say, oh yeah, I've been there. And so with that, we've already learned char and chart, which is you are and you all are. And so someone may ask you, or you could ask someone, Nam kopichar sakartveloshi. Nam kopichar sakartveloshi. So it's have you been to Georgia? And you can say Nam kopivar. Nam kopivar, which is I have been. So that's a good one. And so with the var and char, you have to know these. It's one of the most basic things is to be. With that, it's the third person aris, aris, or just a short version is a, which is he, she, or it is. So for instance, we can say kartveli aris, which means he, she is Georgian. You could maybe say something like bankumati aris, and that means there is an ATM. It's literally an ATM is, but assumingly someone asks you like, oh, is there an ATM in town? And say, oh yeah, bankomati aris, like there is an ATM. And then going along with that short version of which is very common, is this third phrase. And this is one that I've used often on a marshutka or on a public transportation. Marshutka is the public bus. And so the phrase is Es adgili tavisupalia. Es adgili tavisupalia. And that means S is this, adgili is space, tavisupalia is free, and then the is the is. So is this place free? And that was one that I learned early on, and I was so proud when I kind of learned that and used it in public, and it was a very useful one. I remember the first time that I used it, the woman who told me, yeah, the space is free, she was so happy that I said that in Georgian. So that's a good one. All right, so next we have this topic of love. Georgians have a lot of love, both for foreigners and for their own people, for their country. There's just love in so many aspects of their lives. So the word for love is sikwaruli. Sikwaruli. So that's the word for love. The next related word is shekwarebuli. Shekwarebuli. And that means sweetheart or in love. So for instance, if you say, and sweetheart meaning like boyfriend or girlfriend, as we know it, in Georgian you could say like boyfriend or girlfriend, but it has a slightly different connotation, and I think it's not necessarily a good one. It's not necessarily bad. I don't know. I don't know all the details of it, but it's better to go with shekwarebuli, so your sweetheart. So you'd say shekwarebuli mkavs. Shekwarebuli mkavs. And that is I have a sweetheart or I have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You could also say shekwarebuli var. Shekwarebuli var, which is I am in love. Okay. Next one, you can say sakwareli, which is actually cute. It could also mean mistress. So the phrase that you could learn or you should use is rasakwarelia, rasakwarelia. And that just means like, oh wow, how cute something is. Again, it's that ra, which is what, sakwareli, which is cute, and then the short version of aris, so that is. Funny story with this, I remember a friend of mine, he was with his girlfriend, and he had introduced her as his sakwareli. He really meant shekwarebuli, but he said sakwareli, And I laughed because I told him, I said, hey, you just said that this is your mistress. And so I think he probably remembered that one very quickly. Um, but yeah, so shekwarebuli and sakwareli, two different things, depending how you use it. All right, this next one is gikwars. Gikwars. Let me say that again a little bit slower. Gikwars. Gikwars. And that means you love something. So the phrase that you could say is Mogsauroba gikwars. Mogsauroba gikwars. That means, do you love to travel? And this is such a useful word because you could pair something that you love with really anything. You could say like puri gikwars, like do you love bread? I mean, it's such a useful, versatile word to use. So next one, and likewise, so I love something, so it's me, or it's mikwars, mikwars. Um, so the phrase with this one is ki zalian mikwars, ki zalian mikwars. So that's yes, I love something. In this case, if someone asked you, like, do you love to travel? You could say, oh yeah, I really love to travel. All right, so that covers love. So these next few have to do with conversation. And I would imagine if you go to Georgia, one of the things obviously is you want to use the language and you want to have conversations with people. And hopefully you'll get to experience a supra, which is a Georgian feast, and you'll have not just very shallow conversations, but things that are a little bit more conversations that are a little deeper about maybe family or your history or things that you love. So a good word that you can use is momichevi, momichevi, which is like tell me, but it's kind of more of a story because there's another word for like just tell me something, but this kind of I think it implies like you explaining and kind of telling this story about something. So for instance, you would say momichevi shenze, momichevi shenze, which is like tell me about yourself. And notice shen is you, and the ze is like about. It's an ending that means about something. Um, the next phrase, so likewise, is momichevi ojachse. Momichevi ojachse. And this is like tell me about your family. So it'd be a good one to use if you're at a supra. This next one is getanchmevi. Getanchmevi. And this means I agree with you. And on the flip side, you can say ar getanchmevi. Ar getanchmevi. So maybe you're having a conversation and you want to show your agreement with what someone is saying. You can say getanchmevi. I agree with you. And if you don't, you could say the opposite. Ar getanchmevi. Um, just a quick note on the grammar behind these. These are both they involve person alignment. So um, it's talking about me agreeing with you, and you could say stuff like I agree with him or her, or he or she agrees with you, and so it gets complicated. But just know that this involves person alignment, so that's a whole nother area. If you're looking to go deeper with the language, that you'll have to look into that. Okay, this is another good one. Ararsebobs. Ararsebobs, which literally means it doesn't exist, but it's like you use it to say, whoa, no way, really? And it's not saying that you don't actually believe something. It's I find it's generally more of like, wow, yeah, that's crazy. Like I believe what you're saying. It's just crazy. Um, this next one is super common, and it's kaira, kaira, which means come on. Um, pretty much means the same thing. Kaerti, kaerti means like come on. So those I hear all the time and I use those all the time, and I often find myself just thinking those even when I'm in an English context. All right, this next one is daleva, daleva, and it means to drink. And I used to keep on saying infinitive, but I saw in a a Facebook group that I should probably be saying Masdar because technically it's not an infinitive, so it's like an infinitive, but it's technically a Masdar. Just for those more where the grammar is important to you, or learning the academic side of the grammar and having the naming conventions correct. Anyway, um, so dalev or dalev, you will drink, and the phrase you could say is Ruinos dalev. Ruinos dalev. It's will you drink wine? And I think this will be very useful if you're in Georgia because you'll likely either someone will ask you if you want to drink some wine or just drink anything, and you could respond by saying Davlev, Davlev, which means I will drink. So if someone asks you Rinos Dalev, you can say Ho Davlev, Ho Davlev, like yes, I will drink. Um, those two Davlev and Dalev are in future tense, and this one is Vswam, Vswam, which means I am drinking or I drink. I think for anyone who doesn't drink, this will be useful. This is one that I used. I don't generally drink much, so at times I would say this in Georgia, and so I would say arv swam, which means like either at that moment I decided not to drink, or just generally I don't drink. So that's to drink. All right, this next one is I want, which I think will be also very useful, and it's minda, minda. So you could say something like Chama minda, Chama minda, which means I want to eat. Or you could say Mankana minda, which means I want a car. And minda and miqwards and several others in that category are so versatile because you can say basically like I want almost anything, or I love something. You could pretty much use any noun, or the masdar if you know those for the verbs. Likewise, ginda. Ginda is you want. So you could ask someone, Chama ginda. Chama ginda. Like, do you want to eat? And you say, okay, chama minda. All right, so that's it for the verbs or the words and the phrases. I thought that was a useful one, just using a lot of very common verbs and a lot of topics that I think are relevant in Georgia as someone who would be traveling there and hopefully going to some supras, having conversations with Georgians, sharing some drinks, sharing some food. So, yeah, I'll try to get out another video with more useful words and phrases. This seems to be a popular topic, but yeah, until next time, throw it.